Railroad yards are not playgrounds. I know. I worked summers for the railroad. My grandfather and great-grandfather were railroad men. We've seen people hurt and people killed, young people, because they didn't listen to this advice. Stay off the tracks and out of railroad yards. Playing around trains is playing with your life.
Come along on this Rails Around York as we explore the Eastern Division of the Denver and Rio Grande Western Narrow Gauge Railroad.
The General Superintendent Bob Hess told us about some scenic locations and what trains we could expect. After signing the release forms, we were eager to see the trains.
Come along on this Rails Around York as we tour the Denver and Rio Grande Western Eastern Division. Our first stop was at Chapman Station, just as the 482 came out of the tunnel with gondolas.
We managed to get ahead of it to catch the 482 passing a mixed freight with the 491. Our next stop was at Hess Junction. We arrived here ahead of the 482. We were told a Shay would be working the branch today. After the 482 departed, the Shay backed up the branch to Cester Station to pick up a boxcar for Heston Station.
After all this, we located the 491 arriving at Chapman's Station. We wanted to go on top of the mountain for a shot of it entering the tunnel, but these bears changed our minds. We stayed closer to the tracks.
We wanted to see the 491 at Hess Junction, and as the 491 was leaving, the San Juan Express arrived with the 478. Since this was the only passenger train, we decided to follow it. We knew the Shay would be going back up the branch, so we headed back to Hess Junction. We saw a double-headed work train with a 278 and 268. It had some work to do, so we thought we would wait for the Shay and see it go up the lumber branch.
From here we went to Idaho Springs on another branch to see if the Heisler would be in operation. As we were setting up, the Galloping Goose backed into the station. The Heisler was running today. 2 tank cars were to be placed on the work train. This was a good day, the Heisler and the Goose. When number 2 came back to Idaho Springs, the Goose left town.
On our last day, we saw the 482 again on a reverse move with a caboose. Then the 346 came by with all tank cars headed for Heston Station. We were off in pursuit of the 346.
Heston Station is a quaint mountain town. The people are friendly and there is plenty of music besides the music of the steam locomotive. Our time was well spent along the narrow gauge. We ended our trip watching the 346 at the engine terminal. We were glad to have seen the railroad while it was active and thriving.
You chose to ignore the double-track warning. This is the next 60 seconds of your life.
It doesn't look that long. Whatever. What'd I tell you? Okay, great. Let's go.
America's roads can be highways or dieways. The choice is yours. chose to follow others around the crossing gate. This is the next 60 seconds of your life.
Let's go. Come on, let's go. There's no train. Let's go. I'm going.
No.
America's roads can be highways or dieways. The choice is yours.
Well, this is Galloping Goose number 3. The Rio Grande Southern Railroad built 7 of them. Number 3 was built in 1931. It's the only one not in the state of Colorado. All the other geese are still around. They're all still in Colorado. This is the only Galloping Goose not in the state of Colorado. They all run except for goose number 4. Number 4 is in the restoration shop right now at Golden, Colorado, being restored even as we speak, so it should be back running shortly. It used to have a 1926 Pierce Arrow sedan body on it. It looked like that until 1946. In 1946, they took the car body off and they put the Army surplus Wayne bus body on. So all that's left of the old Pierce Arrow today is the hood and original honeycomb brass radius. About 1950, they started having financial difficulties again. The Rio Grande Southern was never a real, what they call a money maker. So when they had financial difficulty again, maybe they thought, well, maybe there's more money in the tourist trade. They're not making a whole lot of money carrying 8 people up front, mailing car, going to the back box. That's when they cut the big long windows in the back cargo box, started using the Galloping Geese for scenic tours around Colorado. Tourist thing didn't work out. They finally declared bankruptcy in October 1951. They hired a broker to get rid of all their real estate and their assets. Actually, it was a local scrap man. That's usually the way railroads go. What doesn't sell is usually scrap. So, when he bought the railroad, they had more modern stuff. He didn't want any modern stuff. He wanted all the old stuff to go with his ghost town, make it look more authentic. So when you see our steam train in the backstage area, it is all original 1880s. Here comes the old goose right there. This is the throttle. This is a J bar or a Johnson bar or what they call a reversing lever. It's in neutral now. Forward. Reverse. This is cylinder cocks. This is the engine brake or independent brake. This is the G6. This is coach brakes. This is a hydrostatic lubricator. The front drip goes for the right-hand cylinder. The middle drip goes for the steam-powered air pumps. And the rear drip goes to the left-hand cylinder or the fireman's side cylinder. The engineer on. Where else can you engineer on a 127-year-old museum piece? All original, they just don't burn coal anymore.
Yeah.
They're both oil burners now. Solid fuel is banned in California. In fact, all the new homes being built, if they have a fireplace, it has to be gas only. No wood burning fireplaces in California. This is a firing valve or fuel valve. You open that up, and it feeds more fuel to the fire. Right now it's off. This is the damper down here. This is the left-hand injectors. This big gauge right here is the atomizer. And then we have the blower. This is, where's the blower? This is the blower valve right here. This is the atomizer right here. Now, when we're sitting in the station, we don't have any steam from the cylinders exhausting up through the stack. That's where you get that boom, boom, boom sound. You get 4 impulses per rotation. So we have to, when we're sitting in the station, we have to create a draft. So that's why we use the blower. The blower has a pipe by the petticoat that points up the stack, and then we make an artificial draft that way, so the fire can breathe better. And that's adjustable. You can increase it, decrease it, depending on what you want to do. The atomizer, the snake's head, which is what we call our burner, has 2 rows of holes. The bottom row is steam. The top row is oil. So you turn the atomizer on, get steam coming out, and then you open the fuel valve, and the fuel starts coming out. We burn number 2 diesel, but it'll burn any combustible liquid other than gasoline. Home heating oil, kerosene, anything like that. We burn number 2 diesel because that's what the rest of the park uses. That way we just have to carry 1 fuel. So this makes it a little easier. So yeah, as the fuel runs out, the top set of rows, it hits the steam and breaks it up into a real combustible liquid or mixture. And I'll tell you, when you got the old girl cranking, it gets hot in here. So it hovers right around 110 all the time in here. Wow. During the summer, considerably warmer. It'll get up to, I think the record is about 137 degrees. So on the locomotive, we have 2 steam-powered air pumps that supply air to the air brakes. In the old days, they used to use steam, but they had a lot of condensation problems. So they invented those. Old Westinghouse invented his air brake in 1868. The rivet boiler, this is actually a smoke box. These are called steeple rivets because they're pointed. It's a steeple rivet.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. Now down here, we have more rivets. This is the old original lap seam riveted boiler. These are what they call button head rivets. You can see all the rivets and things in the firebox. It's all antique stuff. It's all solid wood. On it, where it's been welded up, because it rotted through. This is all wood. It's all wood. This is all wood. 41 has the original journal boxes and trucks on it. I'll show you those too. This is what they call an end beam right here. It's all wood. This tender is all original 1880s, all wood. It has the original 1880s trucks on it. You see how they're all riveted together? Mm-hmm. That's all original 1880s stuff. And then, of course, the journal boxes are all original. You can see the oil down in there. Mm-hmm. You got wadding that sits in the oil, and then every time the axle makes a revolution, it rubs on the, it gets lubricated. So, yeah, this is all original stuff.
Thank you for watching Rails Around York. Call 843-7722 with your comments.
Good night.
Rails Around York is a Good Day production.
Island called the
You chose to walk on the railroad tracks. This is the next 60 seconds of your life.
Big, ugly monster. Hey, guys! Cool. Gotta go! Wimps. Everybody get in here!
America's roads can be highways or dieways. The choice is yours.
Come along along as we look at an American classic, the GG1. The GG1 was a remarkable locomotive built to serve the Pennsylvania Railroad. The GG1 served faithfully on passenger and freight trains from 1935 to 1983, when the last runs were made after 48 years at speeds of 80 to 100 miles per hour. We will see the various paint schemes used on the GG1. Brunswick green was the most popular color with the 5 stripes, and later the solid yellow stripe.
In January 1952, 6 GG1s were painted Tuscan red to be used on the new Congressionals and Senator passenger trains.
June 8, 1968 saw the Robert Kennedy funeral train hauled by GG1s between New York City and Washington, D.C. 4901 and 4903 pulled the 21-car consist. Running ahead of the funeral train was a pilot train, led by 4932 for safety reasons.
4902 was a one-of-a-kind painted light blue for the Golden Spike Limited. High iron steam locomotive number 759 and train were painted in similar paint for the run west and back to Baltimore, where the 4902 was used to take the train to New York City. 4800 was the original GG1 and was the only one with a riveted body. All the others had the smooth welded body. 4800 was built in August 1934 by Baldwin and Westinghouse. The other 138 GG1s were built by GE, Baldwin, and the Pennsylvania Railroad.
'Several GG1s are seen in operation by Amtrak. In Washington, we see a GG1 and E60. The E60 was to be the G's replacement. It did not succeed. 4876 was involved in the wreck of the Federal Express in Washington, D.C. on January 15, 1953. Here it is seen in its last years of service for New Jersey Transit in 1981.
Well, the biggest comment you could make is when we went in the station, we wiped out a 16-inch girder, one of the main girders on the concourse. It was 1 inch thick, 16 inches wide, big H-beam, and we wiped that clean right off the platform, just like it was cut off by a torch. The nose of the engine is hardly dented, and it hit in the main frame, and it was still in one piece after taking that thing out. I mean, she had hit so many things. I remember one crossing between Baltimore and Washington. There was a grader going across with a truck, and a G hit it, knocked the grader aside, cut the trailer in two, and it was dinged and cut a few places, but it still went to Washington. So you couldn't say that there wasn't an engine to beat it for far as being safe. That is for the crew. It took an awful beat and it still go.
What was the fastest that you ever remember having a GG1?
Well, it was in excess of 100, not much more, but that's when we were running the Metroliners as a G, when the Metroliners were, say they were doing a little rework on them. They had some trouble, and so the G's, to make up the schedule, they were running 4 cars in a G with a Metroliner schedule.
they rode like Cadillac right off the bat. And they would really haul a train, as long as they weren't overloaded, they'd haul a train like the best engine the Pennsylvania Railroad ever seen, in my estimation, was the GG1.
The GG1 was a good engine. It never left you sit. Some of these other engines break down and you have an awful time.
4879 made the last revenue run into South Amboy on Friday, October the 28th, 1983.
3 round trips honored the retirement of the GG1. The last train was hauled by Big Red, number 4877. As she was nearing the 100 miles per hour mark on the return trip, power was lost and the last revenue service G, number 4879, was called to its rescue.
The GG1 had an excellent safety record, was fast and powerful, and rarely broke down. Raymond Louie, the designer, said if we had to redesign it today after 40 years, I don't know what I'd change. Probably nothing.
I come from a railroading family. My great-grandfather was a boilermaker, my grandfather a switch engine foreman, and I worked summers for the railroad. So I understand the fear and frustration of seeing someone on the track and not being able to do anything about it. The people in this cab are professionals, but they can't stop this train quickly. Before you cross any railroad track, look, listen, and live.